People often ask me if hearses smell like death. No. But they do smell like carbon monoxide. So, yes. So what is this car that Eric and I own? It's an Ectomobile, not a 1959 Cadillac. A 1959 Cadillac is a collector car. It's in perfect condition. We're talking flawless paint inside and out, authentic parts like a Cadillac rearview mirror, the right trim screws, a generator in the engine. Appraisers have a basis for evaluating cars like that. The Ectomobile is a movie replica car. Its goal is to be as accurate of a movie replica as possible, and that means it'll have a panoramic mirror, an alternator instead of a generator, an overflow tank on the radiator, and other modifications that make it easier to drive, but not comparable to a restored 59 Caddy. You can't hold it to the same standards. But appraisers have no basis for this and often struggle to value it. In 2012, an appraiser from AAA looked at our car and he just gave up. In April 2021, our current insurance company assigned a value which is less than we put into it, but on par for this company, since their website's evaluation tool always seems to evaluate everything under the current market price. Now, I'm showing the picture of a DeLorean here for a reason. There's few cars in the world that you can drill holes in and increase the value. The DeLorean Time Machine and Cadillac Ectomobile would be two. Those always tend to sell at one price as just the base car, but an entirely different price once converted into a movie car. More on that late... Wait, what? $750,000? Leno, are you kidding me? Serious? Do you want to buy an Ectomobile? And it won't cost you no $750,000, and if you don't do it, you know Jeff Dunham probably will. Also, it is a 1959 Cadillac. Even though it's a movie replica with crazy modifications, it's built on the basis of a 1959 Cadillac. As far as insurance and the DMV are concerned, it's a 1959 Cadillac. Sometimes you'll replace parts with authentic Cadillac parts, and other times more modern choices are available, but it does remain a Cadillac. What kind of Cadillac is it? The Ectomobile is built on a commercial chassis, meaning it leaves the factory with just the front half. From there it goes to a coach builder who creates the rear. Most cars have 3 designations, like year, make, and model, but the professional car has at least 5: year, make, and model, and the coach builder, and the body style. Even though all of them are considered a commercial chassis, they're really a product of their coach builders, such as a Miller Meteor Combo, or the Sayers and Scoville Limo, or a Superior hearse. The most famous is probably the Miller Meteor. Seen here, the Sentinel model is probably closest to the one used in Ghostbusters, although there are also the domed roof variety of the Volunteer, and of course the Ambulandau, made famous by its inventor, Martin Ambulandau. The Eureka is a bit of an acquired taste, whereas the Sayers and Scoville seems a little more reasonable with the squared-off back, but of course the most attractive runner-up to the Miller Meteor is really the Superior, and that's the car that Eric and I bought from Sean. So how much do these cars go for? Well, in the UK, Chris Reynolds invested roughly $100,000 into his Ectomobile, turning it into a limousine with bench seats. I think it had 3 bench seats in the back. It was very popular for rentals, weddings, special events, and so on. Well, in September 2010, he offered it for sale, and what the hell is that? Is that the 2016 Ectomobile? What did that sell for? Wow, that actually made more than the 2016 movie. Okay, anyways, Chris offered his up for sale, and I can't find an exact sale price on it. Several sources claimed it was valued at $60,000 to £70,000, which is roughly US dollars $84,000 to $98,000. Another source claimed it was a US dollar value of $115,000 to $130,000. I can't find a final sale price on this, so those are just estimated. But here's one in 2010 that did actually sell. Paul Francis put his Ectomobile up for auction at Barrett-Jackson. It ended up going for $80,000, which is pretty good considering Paul mentioned on forums that he only bought it for $500. He really did a great job, but there are some oddities about it, and I could tell by the comments in the YouTube video. I mean, the light bars have strobes instead of rotators. There's more than a few things with it that could have been improved upon, and, well, anyways, at one point, one of the announcers says,
But when you look down the side, you know, it's one of those things that's kind of rough around the edges, but you think about it, if Bill Murray and the gang were building one on their own, this is exactly what it would look like coming out of the garage.
Which I appreciate. The same could be said of the car Eric and I are selling. In 2007, the Volo Museum offered their Ectomobile for sale for $150,000. Now, this is just my personal opinion, but that thing's hideous. Some of its value came from having George Barris' signature on the hood. That's a shame, since George isn't the inventor of the Ectomobile. I recall hearing he commissioned this car to be built, meaning someone else built it and then he signed the hood. Whoopee! Now it's somehow $150,000, even though it looks like a bar of melted soap. Barr is a famous custom car inventor, and he did the original Batmobile, Monkeymobile, Monstermobile, but he didn't invent the Ectomobile. That thing, that looks like Playmobil. The Ectomobile's inventor was Stephen Dane. He had 2 weeks to think of the car and build it, and boy did he do great. By the way, look at both of these cars here in this article. The top one is the original Ectomobile before Steve Dane got his hands on it. The car below is mine. That's the one I'm selling. This article credits my car as being the original Ectomobile repainted. I guess they assume after you paint a car, the rear window glass changes shape. Anyhow, I'll take that as a compliment, but I find my car showing up in all sorts of places being quoted as the original, and there's so many differences, but I'll take it as a compliment. Part of the reason I'm going off on this car is because for $150,000, the buyer is getting a really weird car that is pretty far departed from the movie. Check out this interior. Looks like a great place for a couple of goth kids to get it on, right? Unlike Chris Reynolds' car that actually had limo bench seats in the rear, this is basically a fancy casket hauler. It doesn't really resemble the movie car inside or out as much as it could have or should have.
Now, this really pisses me off.
Anyhow, that's $150,000 right there. And before I can say, can it get any worse? Here comes the exact same car again in August 2020. The U.S. Marshals held an auction in Fulton, Ohio at the Skipco Auto Auction. It sold for $200,000. I mean, how? Well, look at that rear. It's like if Cardi B was a car and started wagging its butt in everyone's face. I can't look. Oh hey, here's a nice one from March 2020. Now this is impressive. It looks to be the right body, a 1959 Miller Meteor combo. These are super rare, only about 88 of them were ever made. Unfortunately, this isn't one, and I'll show you why in a minute. This car was asking a perfectly reasonable $475,000, but they've lowered it to just $225,000. That's a shame. Money's no object. You should buy too. To be fair, this is made by a super talented shop in Florida called the Parker Brothers Concepts. It's probably worth every dime, since it sounds like considerable expense went into cutting up 3 donor cars to make one final vehicle. I see there's a little 60 in there, a little 1959, a little Velociraptor, maybe some DNA from a cuttlefish. At $225,000, I would have assumed that the entire car would have been rotisseried with new metal welded everywhere. If I'm reading this right, their car is no better off than mine, other than that they welded in new floor pans. The description says they went to lengths to find some truly unfindable parts, and I'll defend them on that. You have no chance of finding those light bars today in 48 inches and blue. In 2012, I spoke to the Federal Signal Corporation, and they just don't make replacement parts anymore. I'm assuming they probably had to pay about $5,000 each for those in today's market. They welded in roof supports, there's the siren and the signal beacon and the correct model Furno stretcher in the back. Good luck finding those. Totally agreed, they did find extremely rare parts to make this thing as authentic as they could. One complaint here is that the outside picture shows 4 regular doors. Look at that back door specifically. That's what the original Ecto one had. It was a Miller Meteor combo with 4 regular doors as indicated by the door handles. But these aren't 4 regular doors, it's a magic trick. Check this picture out. See the hinge on the left? That's a suicide door hinge, which means both doors are really suicide doors. The rear doors open up the exact same as our car. The difference is I'm not going to move the door handle and try to trick you. I actually like the suicide doors better and found these way better for getting in and out of the car, not to mention those folding doors look really cool when you put the car on display in a show. But it's not authentic, and at least, again, I'm being honest about that with our car. Another difference is you need those handles in the correct position. These are the heaviest vehicle doors I have ever moved. Well over 200 pounds, maybe 300. You can get a back injury from yanking on that door trying to pull it open. You need the handle where it is on our car, not where it is on this car. Anyways, for $225,000, you can buy this car. There you have it. These cars can go for anywhere from $80,000 to apparently the cost of the cheapest house in California. Tune in for the next episode when I show you what's under the hood to this Ectomobile and what makes it completely unique. Listen carefully for the sound of Brian getting angrier because Eric didn't show up to help. You son of a bitch.